welcome back to HQ. The NFC runs through Philly, at least one half of it does, as the Eagles get set to host the Rams for a spot in the conference championship. Interesting matchup. Both of these teams really hitting their stride at the right time. They're a combined 23-4 since their bye weeks. And while we've talked a lot about the MVP conversation in the AFC, these two quarterbacks no slouches either. Matt Stafford, Jalen Hurts, both of these guys can be game breakers. It is all going down Sunday at 3 o'clock Eastern. And we welcome you back to our CBS Sports HQ studios. We've got Mike Renner and Douzable. I'm Haley Sutton alongside Jenny Dell. Let's break down this NFC matchup, guys. I'm kind of excited about this just because of, like, on paper, it feels like an exciting game based on how these guys play. And it almost feels like it's going to run through the trenches. And so I'm defaulting to our resident lineman on the staff here. Lige, when you look at this matchup, the Rams offensive line taking on a really good Eagles defensive line, what are you expecting out of that matchup?
So it's going to be interesting because I think both sides could tell the story of what happens in this game. We'll start off with the Rams offensive line. They've done a significantly better job the last few weeks since they've all come back from injury. That's what people tend to forget. Earlier in the season, 4 out of the 5 starters were hurt, right? They've actually played really well on that side of the ball. And that Eagles, and we're going to go to the Eagles offensive line because that's one of the best offensive lines in football. What I love from the Rams defensive line is that those young guys got after the quarterback last week. 6 sacks in the first half, 9 total. Jared Verse, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, these guys can get after it, but it's going to be strength on strength. And it's going to be a totally different look because the Rams by nature don't blitz, but they saw that Sam Darnold struggled with that versus Aaron Glenn the week before. So Chris Shula, the defensive coordinator, decided I was going to bring pressure. Well, the thing about this Philadelphia Eagles team, if you do that, you better be careful because this offensive line can hold up in protection. They're not the Vikings offensive line. And I'm going to show you some clips later that shows you that at times Jalen Hurts has up to 5 to 6 seconds to throw the ball if he wants to. So that's going to be the battle that determines this game, right? I love the physicality of Jared Verse, Byron Young, and Kobe Turner, but it's going to be against the strength of the offensive line for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, I love watching this Rams defensive line play. All young, all hungry. For my money, there's not a more ferocious defensive line in the NFL in terms of playing with their hair on fire, playing with high motor. But that only does you so much good in the pass game. You can't fake run defense, and they're just small. It's pure physics going. The matchup between this Eagles offensive line that has 4 guys across that go 350 plus, and this Rams defensive line that's all sub 300 pounds that has some slighter built guys on the edge and Byron Young that last time they came out, Saquon went for over 250 against them because they just have those double teams up front.
Say it anyways, because you're writing your notes.
Yeah, 255 rush yards against this Ram team in week 12. Yeah. So just adding insult to injury there. I mean, can we expect to see that once again?
And that's the issue, right? And it started off in the second half. The very first play of the second half, the Philadelphia Eagles ran a split zone, and Saquon took off 70 yards. To Mike's point, that is going to be the concern. Right now, Jared Verse is a very physical guy, but again, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, these dudes are 320 plus, and they will engulf you in the run game. So they're going to have to, Omar Spates, he's going to have a heck of a game, the linebacker, right? Roseboom, he's going to have a heck of a game at the linebacker. Quentin Lake, I think, could be a guy that really helps and inserts in the run game. He's a guy that they use at the nickel position. They use him at linebacker. They use him at safety. He's probably going to most likely have to get in the box a little bit more to try to minimize and mitigate this run game because you see the highlights right here from earlier in the season. Saquon got to the second level untouched, and if he gets to the second level untouched, it will be a long day, especially because weather's probably going to be a factor in this game. Philly's going to want to come out and run the ball.
Yeah, and those long runs are a factor of overloading the box. When you put too many guys in the box and they all get creased up, that's how you give those long runs. So it's kind of a pick your poison. Do we really want to overload this box to try to shut them down entirely, or do we want more guys on the back end too high to where if he does break through the first line, then we have multiple guys to go fetch him down? So it's going to be a difficult question. We'll see if Chris Shula has the answer.
I want to take a deeper look into Jalen Hurts now. He's averaging 135 pass yards per game in his 3 career playoff wins. That's the second fewest by any starting quarterback since 2000. So how is he able to be so successful when he's not doing it with his arm?
The run game. Like, he's part of the run game. And this is my thing. This is why I push back on people. They're saying he's only throwing for 133 yards in his 3 career wins. Well, if they're not stopping the run, JD, you keep running the football. That's not on him. And people kind of scoffed and said he had some rust last week. When I went down and broke down the film, he didn't have much rush. There was a little bit there, but I thought Kellen Moore, the offensive coordinator, could have done a better job of making sure A.J. Brown was the first in progression. We're going to get to this film right here.
Break it down for us, Lige.
You see him, he's on the backside right now. And instead of Jalen Hurts going to him and not him being the first read, he goes down bottom to Cal Katera, the tight end. Now, Katera's a good tight end, but A.J. Brown is one-on-one up top. Go to your playmaker up top. If he's on the backside singled up, he should be receiving the football. This is what Kellen Moore needs to do more of. He needs to get A.J. Brown as the first read in the progression. On the next play, he does a really good job of getting A.J. Brown the football. You're going to see him at the bottom right here. They're in cover 4. They're showing cover 3 to try to disguise, but it's really a umbrella coverage. Cover 4, 4 deep, 3 underneath. You see the cushion the corner's giving him? There you go, right there, a hitch play. Easy pitch and catch between Jalen and A.J. Brown. This is what we need to see more of in this offense from Kellen Moore. It is a travesty that A.J. Brown only had 3 targets last game. This is your #1 receiver on the outside. Plays like this, they got to get it to him more. Now, let's go to this next play. This is where I actually did see a little bit of rust from Jalen Hurts right here. We call this happy feet in the pocket because look at the pocket. He's got a clear-cut pocket. Go through his progressions. The Packers did a really good job, again, playing cover 4 defense again, 4 deep, 3 underneath. He has nowhere to go right away. But if he's patient and goes through his progressions, he has Saquon on his out and up versus Edgerrin Cooper. But, Mike, he feels phantom pressure from the right because Lane Johnson is hemming up Rashawn Gary.
Wow.
He's got no chance right there. And he rolls out to the right and throws an incompletion. We're going to see it from the end zone copy. Look how beautiful this pocket is, Mike. Have patience. Trust your offensive line. You have the best offensive line in football. He gets phantom pressure off his right side, decides, I'm going to roll to the right when he didn't need to do that. And again, if he had patience and looked to the left, he had Saquon open on an out and up. That was one of the few plays I saw Russ. But look at this play right here. This is where he does have patience. Look at this in the red zone. Again, cover 4, 4 deep, 3 underneath. I don't know what the Packers knew about Kellen Moore's offense, but they knew that with the route concepts, they were going to struggle against this coverage, this umbrella coverage. So right here, you're going to see the patience. You're going to see Jahan Dotson. He's in the slot up top to the right, right? He's covered initially, but look at the patience. Jaden wanted to leave the pocket, but he stayed in. Look how beautiful that pocket is. Then Jahan Dotson uncovers. This is like 5 or 6 seconds, Mike, and then he throws an absolute dot to Jahan Dotson. So when people are saying Jalen Hurts struggled last week, no. One, you have to give credit to the Green Bay defense, but also I think Kellen Moore could do a better job of scheming up their top playmakers to get open.
Well, the most worrisome thing I saw from Jalen Hurts, like he didn't have as much opportunity as people make it out to be in the passing game. I 100% agree with you there, but he was scared of contact last week. Coming back from that concussion, he did not want to get hit again. I think even on that play where he started to step up, there was a crease there that he could have hit.
Yeah.
Numerous times in that game, he had creases up the middle of the football field, but chose to sort of bounce wide so that he had more space to protect himself. Can't do that in the playoffs. You need to maximize every yard. And so if it means taking hits, you got to take those hits. Unfortunately, he looked scared to do so last week.
I would say I go back to 2022 season. Remember, he had the shoulder injury and missed like 3 or 4 weeks and then came back week 18 and didn't look good versus the Giants. I would assume this was kind of like that game that he had versus the Giants, but he didn't play as bad as he did a few years ago, and I feel like this offense will get going. Now, again, I think the weather could be a factor in regards to maybe not having a pass game because I believe it's supposed to be in the mid-30s and raining a lot, so that could determine if they're able to pass the ball or not.
Don't love that. Don't love the weather. Just before we move on here, how many times do you think we see A.J. Brown read his book?
I don't think he'll read it. I think he's going to get like 10 targets this game. I don't think he's going to read the book at all.
He's going to be working overtime.
100%. Every time they go to the sideline, he's going to be like this.
Oh, man. All right, guys, let's wrap up this conversation, and we can't without talking about the coaching battle in this one. Obviously, we know Sean McVay and his offensive mind, but for the Eagles, Vic Fangio, what a treat he has been for them and just really revamping that defense. Talk to us, Lige, about the chess match between coaches in this one.
This is what I'm more excited about. Now, again, I'm a defensive lineman, so I want to see the trench battle, but the mental battle between Sean McVay and Vic Fangio, because it's going to be vastly different from what they saw last week, and I'm talking about the Los Angeles Rams. Brian Flores likes to bring pressure. Vic Fangio is not a high blitz guy, and he plays zone coverage. He wants the defensive line to really get after the quarterback. So it's going to be incumbent on Matt Stafford, who's seen a lot of football, to have patience in the pocket because there's a few teams that play with more guys blocking in regards to play action pass than the Los Angeles Rams. They max protect probably more than anybody in the league. So he's going to have time in the pocket. He's got to decipher and figure out where to go in zone coverage with the football. And Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are one of the best at doing that. So that's a chess match I want to see with Sean McVay and also Vic Fangio, because Vic Fangio likes to play zone and lets his defensive line hunt, where last week the Rams had every answer to what Brian Flores did when it came to the pressure.
Yeah, that's kind of why I like the Eagles' defense in this one, because they don't have a ton of wrinkles like Brian Flores. It's not these big disguises that you can figure out and take advantage of. It's really small wrinkles, and it's really simplistic. That's how you get a guy like Zach Bond, who the very first year in the scheme can be an all-pro linebacker, because he's not asked to do a ton of stuff. They're very simplistic roles on that second level of the defense, and so it's going to be difficult to take advantage of when you don't have the skill advantage, right? That's why the Eagles and those linebackers, that secondary that's so much improved, is so deadly to go against, is because they're just asked to play fast, and they're pretty darn good at that level of defense.
Side note, there is one thing that I want to bring up. Nakobe Dean being out is massive for them, because Tyler Higbee was a man on a mission in the middle of the field last week for the Rams, and I'm glad to see that he's going to be healthy enough to play. Him versus Burks, potentially in zone coverage, could be an issue for the Eagles this week.
It'll be interesting to see. I personally am rooting for the Rams, but no surprise there. I can't root for the Eagles to win anything. Here is a look at the tail of the tape. The first playoff meeting, of course, since 2001, that NFC Championship game that the Rams won. So let's keep that same energy, LA. I'm just kidding. Philadelphia has been so good this year, guys. They've only lost 3 games. We are excited to see how this one shakes out on Sunday.